Irma Grese patrolled Auschwitz with a whip in one hand and a pistol on her hip. Prisoners called her the Blonde Beast. Survivors called her something worse, a sadist with a schoolgirl's face. She was just 22 when the Allies captured her. At her trial, she stood defiant, offering no apology for the beatings, the killings, the selections. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. And when the gallows came, she climbed them like a soldier. This is not the story of a brainwashed follower. This is the story of a woman who chose evil and smiled as she did it. Early life and radicalization. Irma Ida Ilse Grese was born on October 7, 1923, in a small German town called Rechen. Her early life was marked by instability and trauma. Her mother, Berta, took her own life when Irma was just 13 years old. Her father, a strict dairy worker and member of the Nazi Party, raised Irma with rigid discipline and little affection. From a young age, she was exposed to authoritarian ideals and nationalist propaganda that idealized obedience, purity, and Aryan superiority. Irma left school at the age of 14 and began working odd jobs, including a brief stint as a nurse trainee. Her education was minimal, but her indoctrination was intense. She became an avid follower of National Socialist ideology and, by 18, had joined the League of German Girls, the female wing of the Hitler Youth. In this environment, young women were taught to idolize Hitler, uphold Nazi values, and serve the state with unquestioning loyalty. Grese's family disapproved of her growing obsession with the SS and the Third Reich's racial doctrines, particularly her father, who reportedly argued with her about her ambitions. Eventually, she left home, severing emotional ties and fully committing herself to the Nazi cause. She applied to work at concentration camps, not out of coercion, but by choice. In 1942, at just 19 years old, Irma Grese was assigned to Ravensbrück, the notorious women's concentration camp. There, she began her transformation from an ordinary village girl to a feared and brutal overseer. She quickly gained a reputation for cruelty and for her blind obedience to her SS superiors. Fellow guards described her as eager, disciplined, and disturbingly detached from the suffering around her. Her next transfer would define her legacy. In early 1943, she was sent to Auschwitz-Birkenau, where she would unleash some of the most terrifying acts of violence ever documented. But even in those early years, it was clear, Irma Grese was not merely a cog in the machine, she wanted to be part of it. And soon, she would become one of its most sadistic instruments. Auschwitz and the Rise of a Monster. In March 1943, Irma Grese was transferred to Auschwitz-Birkenau, the most infamous of all Nazi death camps. She arrived not as a frightened recruit, but as an ambitious overseer ready to prove herself. Quickly, she rose through the ranks, becoming the highest-ranking female guard at the women's camp. Her youth and appearance contrasted disturbingly with the horrors she orchestrated. Survivor testimonies describe her as walking through the camp with polished boots, a carefully kept appearance, and a riding crop she used without hesitation. She selected women for the gas chambers. She beat them for the slightest infraction. Some prisoners even said she trained dogs to attack inmates for her amusement. Her brutality seemed calculated, not impulsive. She was exacting, methodical. Irma developed close ties with Dr. Joseph Mengele, the Angel of Death, who conducted grotesque medical experiments at the camp. Witnesses reported seeing her assist in selections for experiments and escort children to operating tables. She took pleasure in her proximity to power, often boasting of her position and her duty to the Reich. Despite being surrounded by constant death, Grese showed no signs of emotional conflict. She carried herself with pride, sometimes wearing perfume, even makeup, in the midst of mass suffering. It was as though cruelty had become a performance, and she reveled in it. Prisoners feared her even more than some male officers, for her violence seemed personal, not just professional. By late 1944, as the Soviet army approached and the Nazis began evacuating Auschwitz, Irma was among those transferred to Bergen-Belsen. But she didn't leave her sadism behind. She brought it with her, and unleashed it one last time as the Reich collapsed. Bergen-Belsen and the collapse. When Irma Grese arrived at Bergen-Belsen in early 1945, the camp was descending into chaos. Disease, starvation, and overcrowding had turned it into a hell on earth. There were no functioning crematoriums, so corpses piled up in open fields. But even in this nightmare, Irma found ways to wield terror. She resumed her position as senior warden, managing thousands of female prisoners. Though the SS had begun losing its grip, Grese remained zealous in her duties. She was known for beating starving women, denying food to the sick, and punishing inmates for minor infractions like sharing scraps of bread. She was not following orders. She was creating suffering where there was already enough. As the Allies closed in, many guards fled. Irma did not. She stayed, maintaining order and continuing her routine as if the Reich still stood strong. When British forces finally liberated the camp in April 1945, they found 60,000 prisoners in a state of horror, and among the SS staff still present, Irma Grese. Her arrest came swiftly. Soldiers who captured her were shocked to find such a young, seemingly calm woman among the perpetrators. Dressed neatly, with her blonde hair in place, she appeared more like a secretary than a concentration camp executioner. But the testimonies piled up, and the truth was undeniable. In the following days, survivors lined up to name her. They spoke of whippings, beatings, selections, and humiliation. Some pointed to her as the worst of all. Her demeanor during questioning was unnerving, calm, defiant, even proud. She never admitted guilt. She never cried. To the end, she believed in what she had done. Trial and execution. Captured by British forces at Bergen-Belsen, Irma Grese was brought to trial in September 1945. She was only 22 years old, yet already notorious. Charged with war crimes alongside other SS guards, her cold demeanor and striking appearance caused international outrage. The press dubbed her the Beautiful Beast. Survivor testimonies painted a chilling portrait of a woman who beat inmates with whips, set dogs on prisoners, and selected victims for the gas chambers without hesitation. Grese claimed she was just following orders, but the court didn't buy it. Her cruelty had been too personal, too consistent. She was sentenced to death and hanged on December 13, 1945. At just 22, Irma Grese climbed the gallows at Hamelin prison without hesitation. Her final word, Schnell, the German word for quickly, was not a plea, but a command. A cold, emotionless order to end her life without delay. There was no apology. No final reflection. Just silence, and then the rope. History would remember her not for her rank or ideology, but for the terror she delivered with a smile.